Hey! So this is a video of a project that I made back in May of 2018, and I've just been carrying the footage around with me, and so I thought I'd finally put it together for you. Yeah, so here you go. Hey, Sai here! So I'm going to make another sign! Ah, I'm excited about it. I love making signs. This one, I'm going to make it! Ah! I clamped the sign down to the bench, but now I use one of those mats that keep the project from slipping. Because the clamp tends to get in the way and you have to move it and stuff, so I really like those mats. I had typed up and printed off the sign and I glued it to the board. And then I used the profile bit and I went around all of the letters tracing the line. Including those smaller letters and numbers, which was a bit challenging. I was a bit grumpy while I was working on this sign, and a friend called and I talked with him and I told him I was grumpy. He asked if I was working on a project and I told him I was, and that it was a be happy sign. Then it dawned on me that I just can't be grumpy, or I shouldn't be grumpy, while I'm working on a be happy sign. Especially with the scripture verse on it, which tells me how to be happy and reminds me why I am and should be happy. Live and learn, I tell you what. So then I happied up after that phone call, and when I realized that I just shouldn't be grumpy. Then I drew some lines for borders, and using a round end router bit, I made some pit marks around all of the letters. And this is just to give the background some texture, and I like how it looks. Then I removed the papers and I added a sealer coat. It's a mixture of 1/2 shellac and 1/2 denatured alcohol. And I don't do it like this anymore. Now I just use sanding sealer from a can if the wood tends to allow seeping, like cedar does. And I sprayed it off with canned air since I didn't have any air compressor handy at the time, and that keeps the sealer from pooling. Then I forgot to record spraying the black primer. Oops. Then sanded off all of that black primer paint. And this is where the sealer helps, because then that black primer paint doesn't seep into where you don't want it to go. Then use the can of air again to spray it down, and that worked really well. Then sanded a couple spots that were a little bit rough around the edges, or the paint didn't come all the way off with the sander. And then I went over with the black Sharpie and colored in any areas that was a little bit high and came off with the sander. I sanded the back side, and then I decided to use some black acrylic paint to paint around the edges. And when that was dry, I sanded again where I kind of went over the edge a little bit. Then I added some eye hooks to the top. Next, I flipped it over and I added a verse to the back. I used the lacquer thinner technique this time. I have 3 different techniques I use, and which one I use just depends on the wood and some other factors like my preference that day and stuff. I put Psalm 32 on the front of this sign because the entire chapter, which has 11 verses, is just really comforting and awesome. But the very first verse, the one I'm putting on here, says, "Happy is the person whose sins are forgiven, whose wrongs are pardoned." Then I did the same with my logo. And then I put Danish oil on the back and on the front, but I don't think I followed the directions back then, which is to apply a generous amount, let it sit and soak for 15 minutes, and then add more and let that soak in for 15 more minutes, and then wipe it off. But it still looked nice, just wiping on the one thin layer. The Be Happy sign is all dry, done and dry. And it's really cool because this Psalm 32, it tells you how to be happy, which is awesome. And so, yeah. Making this sign, and I had that grumpy day, and my friend called me, told him I was grumpy and that I was working on a Be Happy sign. So, weird. But, anywho,
thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye! I've really gotten to where I like the spray adhesive, and it even works when I forget to wait for the minute.